seat today, we have a nationwide, well-known performance poet, and he goes by the name Sean. Welcome. Please welcome Mr. Welcome to the show. How you doing, bro?
Very well, very well.
Good to have you on the show. Good to have you on
Glad
the show.
to be here, man.
So I understand that you're from Brooklyn.
Originally, yes, sir.
Right,
yes, sir.
Right. So what brought you down to Florida? Because you live in Florida now, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom moved down here when I was about 10 years old or so, and so I just ended up moving down here with her, and so that's pretty much it. Yeah, just went back for the summers and.
Nah, it's one thing people don't get to see all the time. How did you become a poet?
Well, my senior year of high school, I actually moved back to New York, and there was just a lot of changes in my life at that time, and I just felt very isolated and whatnot, just going through a lot of things, personal things, and I found, an avenue, an avenue in writing. I was inspired by a lot of the guys on the street corner, doing their rap thing, and it was without music, just a cappella. And I went home and I started to write some stuff, just being inspired from that. And it just felt good. And I found out that I had a gift there, and so I just stayed with it.
Can you say that, poetry is actually like rap a cappella? Can you say that?
It depends, It depends. I guess one could say something like that. They say rap is rhythm and poetry, so.
And poetry is just poetry.
Yeah, poetry is just poetry in itself. So.
Now you also did drama and acting.
Drama and acting, yes. Most of that has come like maybe just in churches and things like that, and being involved in plays and stuff like that. But I've also done a poetry play where it would work or operate the same as like a musical, but instead of singing the song, we would have poems to fit the scene, and things like that. So that was a lot of fun.
You have a very I wouldn't say curious, but a very different background. It's like you did a lot of corporate you do a lot of speaking
engagements.
You do that.
I've done that before.
And you do a lot of churches speaking also.
Yes, sir.
So you're pretty much involved into speaking a lot to a lot of
people. Diverse crowds. I mean, it doesn't matter. And I think my style of poetry can fit, in any arena. It's universal enough to fit in the corporate arena, whether you're talking about a poetry night or even a church event. It would still be fitting. So.
Right, that's good. Now, one thing to your credit, you were actually ranked 14 in the 2007 National Poetry Slam.
Yeah.
14 out of how many?
Well, 2007, it was in Austin, Texas. They had this thing called Poetry Slam, and that's where you speak for 3 minutes or so, and you do a poem, and then people randomly give you scores and things like that. And it was about 300 or so people, and I ended up ranking.
Are you serious?
14th. Yeah.
That's very, very good. Now, were you scared when you was going into the?
I'm hardly ever scared or shy.
I know.
As you can see. hardly.
I know.
Ever,
I can tell. But how was that experience?
It was amazing. Right. I mean, we actually drove to Austin.
From Florida.
From Florida, yeah. Ooh, so
that's a long drive.
So it's like if you drive that far, you're coming back with something.
I know, right? You have to. You gotta come back empty-handed.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
So it was good, and then when I came back to the poetry night, I mean, it just people were proud of that, and it just inspired people to do more.
Absolutely, because 14 out of 300, that's a pretty, very, very good score. Now, in Orlando right now, which is where you live, you actually host a weekly poetry slam called Diverse Word.
Yes.
Diverse Word.
Diverse Word.
I like the way you put it. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Okay, well, every single Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m. It's held at the Dandelion Community Cafe, which is like a vegan, vegetarian restaurant type thing.
Wow.
I host it outside, We get it roughly about 40 to 50 people every week that come there, and it's just an open mic. You put your name on the list, you go up there, you share your work, we collab, we do little fun games and things like that, keep people involved, and it's a lot of fun. Very diverse crowd. You have young, old, black, white.
Can I come?
Sure. I encourage you to
that
come.
was something that I would really, really love.
Yeah, come, man. Come downtown, man.
Now, as far as poetry goes, what do you think is the how do you get into poetry? Let's say you have a lot of young kids right now watching you, and maybe they're inspired. You know, they like to write.
Okay.
Maybe they want to do poetry.
Right.
Now, what would you tell them?
My first thing I would say is to get around people who are performing poetry, because the root of it really is to just be inspired. That's how I got started.
Okay.
I was around it. I listened to it, and I allowed myself to be inspired, and that's how I ended up writing. You know, you need to be fed if you want to feed. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's the first thing I would suggest is go to open mics, go to poetry venues, sit there, listen, and then see how it applies to yourself. You know, or you know, you sort of find your niche that way. From being around it all the time, being saturated in that type of environment will help shape you and help you to grow.
Now, I've watched a lot of poets on stage, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any structure to the poetry game? Because you look at some of these people, sometimes they just like go left, right, you know, say no rhymes, and is that allowed?
Yeah, it's definitely allowed. I mean, there's no rules really with poetry.
To
man.
each his
To each his own style, you know, and you know, I hear it all, man. I host every week, so I hear it all. There's no structure.
Surprises sometimes, right?
Yeah.
People just come there and just start mouthing.
Sometimes I'm surprised when there is structure. So that's how.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, what's next for you? As far as, you know, what are you working on?
Okay, well, currently right now,
Yes.
actually tomorrow, I have an album release party called Shades of Gray.
Okay.
It's a project that I've been working with a company by the name of Wycliffe Bible Translators. Okay. And they do these presentations to help people support their vision. And I pitched the idea of doing a CD to put in one of their gift bags. And so they allowed that, and so I have a poetry CD for them, but I'm going to release it to the public coming tomorrow. So
right. So it's going to be under your name and
yes, yeah. Sean, welcome. Yeah, so it's a great disc. It has some music and things behind it, you know. Okay. And so I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, just pretty much getting out there, like, you know, I said, speaking at churches, corporate events. Yeah. I was at a birthday party at the Grand Bohemian a couple days ago, and so. Yeah, just wherever inspiration is needed, I'm there.
But I understand you really have to love this, because you actually resign a corporate position to actually focus on doing poetry.
Yeah, I couldn't think about nothing else.
Yeah, but I'm
answering phones all day, and I'm trying to write. You know, I'm writing on the side, and it just became a lot. You know, emails and you know, requests and things like that, and it was a real tear for me, you know, because this is my heart, this is my passion.
This is what you like to do.
This is what I like to do.
Now,
and so
is there money in poetry?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. You know, that's not what I'm doing it for. But
yeah, but I don't know if your wife, you know, I mean, she. I gotta ask her what she thinks about that.
Yeah, no, there's money. There's money in it. I've actually been flown out to California to perform. That was a very, you know, they took care of me. I'll say.
Okay, because I mean, you know, you gotta ask wifeys. I mean,
yeah. I'll be in Dallas at the end of April for another event, and so there's great opportunities. Other times it's not. It's just a small crowd of whatever, and there's no money. Okay. But I mean,
that's your passion.
It is my passion, and the return on that could be great. You know, that can be somebody who gets inspired. They grow up to be somebody great, and then they want to bless you. So it's not always about the money.
Absolutely.
It's really about, you know, passion, it's about getting people inspired and really evoking change in the world. You know,
I like that. Absolutely. Now I understand you're gonna perform for us.
Sure. Yeah.
You like?
I do have. Yeah. Sure.
I would love to hear that. Now, what is the poem going to be about?
This poem is called Shades of Gray, and it has to do with my experience as a tutor at Wekiva High School. I tutor there through a nonprofit called AmeriCorps currently, and there's a lot of ESOL students, people who speak English as a second language, and it's a bit tough for them to adjust and things like that. And I was kind of, I don't know, it was a good observation that all of them were in the same classroom for, you know, and how confusing it could be.
Right, because none of them speak English.
Well,
I mean, they do as a second language.
They do, as a second language. And so I was like, man, you know, there's no, I was kind of shocked that there wasn't sort of a system. I mean, they come from another country, and then you just put them, it's kind of tough. So It wasn't a real solution, but the poem is really just about embracing diversity. It has to do with Wycliffe. They go to other countries and they translate the Bible and things like that, you know, and deal with other different languages. So I tied the two together to make a poem called Shades of Grey. So
you ready?
Yes, sir.
So here's the camera here. If you want to go.
All right. Esau, English for speakers of other languages. It's the classroom in public schools you might qualify for if you have an accent for a smoother transition into the fluent majority. Besides the poetry, I'm a tutor at Wekiva High School, which is like the mall cop of teachers, badge, no gun, no license to run anything, but I pace myself anyway. Within my first few days as a tutor, Alain says to me, "Do you speak Creole? You look like Wyclef." I say no. He says, "So you're just like regular black, huh?" Sadly, I say yeah. Funny, but since then I wanted to swallow every Rosetta Stone my stomach could hold because I really want to help them. They still got flavor, y'all. America's melting pot keeps its seasoning in Esau classes. And if students are somehow dumb because they struggle with English, then Ludwig van Beethoven is a blibbering idiot. Place dunce hats on Mother Teresa and Gandhi. Does this make sense to you? A million questions interrupt conversations with myself like Mr. Baseball. Why is it called the World Series when you never leave home base? Newsflash, the world is more than New York and LA. Florida and Chicago, will we ever see clearly across the prime meridian, transcend oceans and embrace diversity when she cries at our doorstep, abandoned with no blankets? What happens when you mix Spanish, French, Creole, Vietnamese, and Russian speaking students in a classroom, 2 bilingual teachers, and give assignments in English? How do you assess them? I'm not mad, just never seen this shade of gray before. And then there's Wycliffe, a Christian-based organization founded by college student Cameron Townsend, whose mission is making God's word available in a language and form that people understand best, specifically indigenous people. The Berek tribe in Papua New Guinea regard the gallbladder as significant as we see the heart. So John 3:16's "For God so loved the world" in their translation starts off like, "For the world sat well in God's gallbladder." Enlightenment by any means necessary. Send them out. Live with natives. Learn the language, then translate the Bible. It's a mission impossible process. Easier said than done. Spirits and necks, sweat, bullets. Death and salvation are in love. Almost inseparable. Many have died for, in essence, becoming Esau students in places like Papua New Guinea. But crossing the life-threatening line of linguistics is worth the reward. Les langues différentes sont belles. Y no me importa lo que piensan los demás. Heaven is and will always be multicultural. It's going to look like the most beautiful pack of M&Ms I've ever seen. From Esau classes east to west to indigenous encounters with Wycliffe, we become connected with shades of gray. Shades of gray is all we'll see when these concrete walls of fear collapse. And out of the ashes rises increasing humility to listen.
Amazing. Give it up, everybody. Give it up for Sean. Welcome. That was great, man. That was great. That was great. I loved it. I loved it. I'm definitely going to have you back on the show.
Oh, awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
I would love to have one of those CDs that you put out, bro.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. We'll make sure you get a copy.
Thank you for being on the show, bro.
All right, not a problem.
That was Sean. Welcome on the show, everybody. Stick around. We'll be right back.